Good afternoon to everyone present. I'd just like to welcome everyone on behalf of the Legal Resources Cen and Students for Law and Social Justice. This press conference has been convened in light of recent submissions that have been made to the Fees Commission. SLSJ, on behalf of their membership, have made submissions to such commission, and this conference is just to explain, well, to give a context of why SLSJ is involved in the commission, firstly, and secondly, just an indication of what was in the actual submissions. My name is Nicole Rawiani. I'm a member of the Legal Resources legal team. We were just playing an advisory role in compiling the submissions for SLSJ. My members here to the left of me are Nicole Van Zyl. She's the UCT chairperson of SLSJ in that campus. And then here is Oluetu Maka, and he is a SLSJ member at UP, that's University of Pretoria. So without further ado, I think we'll hand over to Nicole.
So for the purposes of understanding how SLSJ came to file submissions to the Fees Commission, it's necessary for me to state that SLSJ as an organisation is very much founded and committed to the South African Constitution, and we felt it from the outset that it was very important for us to become involved in this question of the right to higher education as enshrined in the Constitution. And from the beginning we decided to to go through means of legal redress to help develop the jurisprudence surrounding this right, and also the way it is realized in the country. Once the Fees Commission was established, we decided to take up this call for public participation and become involved in the process to help facilitate it as best we can, coming from a position where we're committed to defending the right and developing its understanding and realization in the country. This is particularly because we are an organisation whose membership is university students, so it goes directly to both our core mandate and the lived experiences of our membership. And on these bases, we felt it was very important for us to be involved. I think it's important to state that we definitely don't represent the views of all students in this country, and we're merely coming from our organisational ambit in terms of putting this submission forward. A process of engagement amongst our membership was initiated earlier on this year when we decided we wanted to start becoming involved. It began with a call for individual submissions from membership, and then later we held meetings at the different branches to discuss the issue, to formulate branch submissions, which were then engaged with and compiled into one document. As this is such a complex issue and we were discussing it across the country, initially there was no sort of clear view, which is why earlier this month we met and held a conference of all the branch chairs and various members in order to canvass these issues and decide exactly where SLSJ stood. And it is from this point that we developed a consolidated opinion that now represents the views of the organisation, that it has trickled up from membership, and it is based on this conference that the submission that is made to the Commission was drafted.
All right.
Give me a second. I don't have enough space. Quickly.
Good afternoon, everybody. As stated by our colleague here, my name is Oluetu Maka, and I'll be giving a brief summary of the submission that Students for Law and Social Justice has made. Students for Law and Social Justice is a South African students' organisation dedicated to protecting human rights, preventing discrimination, and promoting social justice and the rule of law in public higher education institutions across the country. SLSJ was formed in 2008 and has 15 branches at 11 institutions with approximately 3,500 members. These submissions are made with a view to provide a broad student-driven perspective on the constitutional and social issues being considered by the Commission of Inquiry into Higher Education and Training, commonly known as the Fees Commission. And they are product of provincial and national consultations, as well as calls for submissions from individual members. SLSJ considers it part of its mandate, as well as its duty, to contribute positively towards the full realization of the right to higher education. It must be emphasized that we do not, however, purport to speak on behalf of all students, and acknowledge that the experiences of students across the country differ significantly. SLSJ recognizes that education has the ability to alter the lived realities of the historically oppressed, as well as open the doors of opportunity to those whom society has traditionally relegated to subservience and poverty. As Steve Biko once said, in time we shall be in a position to bestow on South Africa the greatest possible gift, a more human face. And in pursuit of that human face, we believe that it is thus imperative that universal availability and access to further education is an aspiration all people should seek to realize. Significantly, education edifies the human existence in enabling individuals to pursue lives in which they can maximize their potential. While basic education is key in this regard, accessing opportunities for further education significantly enhances a person's prospect of meaningful existence. The Constitution, which is the basis of SLSJ's submission, envisions a society that improves the quality of life of all people and frees their potential. The continued marginalization of people based on their circumstance and position in society is abhorrent and must be addressed as a matter of urgency. The right to further education is located in Section 29(1)(b) of the Constitution, and importantly, it also finds reference in international law. It is in light of these empowering provisions that SLSJ has envisioned and proposed its suggested model of funding, a sliding scale, alongside further recommendations. Our engagement with this issue is grounded on the understanding that the right to further education must be made progressively available and accessible. It is a constitutional imperative and obligation under international law that further education must become universally available and accessible over time. As a starting point, admissions policies are vital to the success of the proposed sliding scale in facilitating access to redistributive access to institutions. Spaces in institutions must be awarded with the goal of transforming a vastly unequal society. It is submitted that the admissions policies of various institutions must be reviewed as a space in which to effect redress of past and present injustices. It is submitted that only when the student body is racially representative that redistribution of access will be constitutional. Further, it is an imperative that the marginalized groups are afforded the protection guaranteed by the Constitution in admissions. This is vital to the promotion of human rights and human dignity and ensuring that the best interests of the students are protected and promoted. Importantly, the affordability of further education is a barrier to access to the majority of prospective students and is a system that requires redress. SLSJ submits that the implementation of a progressive sliding scale model of governmental subsidization directly to students, not as a collective, but as individuals, must ensure that personal circumstances of the students, including the best interests of the students, any form of disadvantage, socio-economic disparities, and historic or continuous social systems or structures must be accurately accounted for. This model, inversely proportionate in its nature, gives effect to the progressive realization of the right to further education, as mandated by the Constitution. The model also serves as a useful mechanism in addressing the unequal realities of prospective and current students and should be implemented as a matter of urgency in the short, medium, and long terms by the implementation team as suggested by SLSJ. SLSJ views fee-free further education as a term that must be understood relatively. We submit that the immediate realization of fee-free further education for all would serve to benefit the advantaged in society, to the detriment of the overburdened poor. We also submit that a progressive system aimed at redress, redistribution of wealth, and the provision of access to education to those most in need, implemented as a matter of urgency, is a pragmatic solution to South Africa's harsh economic reality. inequalities. SLSJ submits that government can make use of a model based on substantive equality, where those most in need are assisted at a justifiable expense of those wholly able to pay, but that no retrogressive measures should be implemented in the pursuit of realizing the right to further education. Safer measures designed for redress of injustices of the past, for example. On the question of availability of resources, we submit that it is not appropriate to read the availability of resources into section 29(1)(b) as a justification in and of itself that can be relied on by the state for the non-fulfillment of the right. However, it may be a component in assessing the reasonableness of the measures taken. It should therefore be incumbent on the state and all relevant stakeholders, including the institutions involved in the realization of higher education framework, to work to constantly develop a system that accommodates legitimate concerns, needs, and aspirations of students. In conclusion, SLSJ calls for public involvement and transparency in the Fees Commission and stresses the importance of the role of civil society. It calls on the President to urgently consider the findings and recommendations of the Fees Commission and to report to the public on the implementation of these recommendations. We call on all sectors of society to come together and heed the call of students as we seek to create a country where the circumstances of one's birth is not a hindrance to the fulfillment of the innate potential within us all. Thank you very much.